Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Sometimes the stories we cover are pretty wild, but this one's heavy.
It really is.
We're talking about the allegations against Sean Diddy Combs. And look, we all know Diddy, the music, the fashion, the larger-than-life persona.
Right. A true icon, someone who's had a massive influence on, well, everything for decades now.
Exactly. So we're not wading into some shallow pool of celebrity gossip here. This is different. This deep dive, we're going deep on the accusations, the legal battles, and honestly, what it all means for Diddy's whole legacy.
And it's crucial for anyone listening to understand this isn't just about headlines. We're piecing together a timeline here, digging into the complexities, and analyzing the potential fallout from it all.
Because the truth is, this story goes way back, further than a lot of people realize. It didn't just start with the stuff you might have seen in the news recently. This is about recognizing a pattern.
You hit the nail on the head. This all really starts back in Year from Source, early in the timeline with that lawsuit from Cassie, Diddy's long-term girlfriend at the time.
Oh, right, Cassie. And that one was settled really fast, wasn't it?
It was, and the details of the settlement are still sealed, which is a common tactic in these situations.
But I'm guessing it wasn't really a clean break, was it?
Well, that's the thing with settlements like that. On the surface, it's a way for everyone to move on, but there are often a lot of unanswered questions, and those unanswered questions, well, they tend to linger.
And linger they did, because soon after, more women started coming forward with accusations of their own.
And some of these accusations went back years, even decades.
We're talking all the way back to the 90s in some cases. That brings up a whole other layer of complexity, doesn't it? The statute of limitations.
Absolutely, it's a major factor in cases like this.
Can you break down exactly what the statute of limitations means, just so everyone's clear?
Sure. In simple terms, it's a legal time limit on when someone can be charged with a crime or when someone can file a lawsuit, depending on what we're talking about. And it varies depending on the type of allegation and where it happened.
So some of these older accusations, even if they're credible, might be difficult to pursue legally because of these time limits.
That's right. And that's something we see a lot in these types of cases. It can be really tough for survivors of traumatic experiences to come forward right away.
It's complicated, for sure.
It is. But even with the statute of limitations, these older accusations are important because they start to paint a picture, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, definitely. You start to see a pattern emerging. And for Diddy, things went from complicated to, well, explosive in March of 2024.
That's when those raids happened, right?
Yeah, the raids, multiple properties owned by Diddy, all searched by law enforcement.
That shifted things significantly. This wasn't just about lawsuits anymore. It was a full-blown criminal investigation. And it totally changed public perception of the whole situation.
Man, those raids were a turning point for sure. It wasn't just whispers anymore. It was like the whole world was watching.
Absolutely. And then, just a few months later, things escalated again when Diddy was arrested in New York.
September 2024, right?
That's right. And while his lawyers were quick to point out that he was planning to turn himself in, it didn't really matter at that point. The image of him being arrested, it was everywhere.
It definitely felt like a defining moment. And almost immediately, you saw the impact. Diddy stepped down from Revolt, and Howard University, they even took back that honorary degree they gave him.
It really showed how seriously these accusations were being taken. Even with everything still playing out in court, institutions didn't want to be associated with him anymore.
And then, as if things couldn't get any crazier, CNN releases that video.
Oh man, that video. May 2024, the one from the hotel hallway with Cassie.
That changed everything, didn't it?
It really did. Even though the LA prosecutors, they decided they couldn't bring charges for that specific incident because of the statute of limitations,
Right.
But that video, it became a crucial piece of evidence in the whole federal investigation.
It was almost like there was no more he said, she said after that. It felt like people had made up their minds.
It makes sense, though. Seeing is believing, right? And in this day and age, that kind of footage spreads like wildfire, and it's hard to control the narrative when everyone's seen it.
Diddy did issue a public apology eventually, but
But it felt like too little, too late to a lot of people.
yeah, like the damage was already done. And it seemed like after that video came out, even more people started coming forward with accusations.
It's like opening the floodgates, Suddenly there are all these lawsuits, including one involving Diddy's own son.
It was a lot to process,
Ugh.
to say the least. It went from bad to worse in a very short amount of time.
It did. And navigating that kind of situation, the legal battles, the public scrutiny, it takes a very, very carefully thought out strategy.
That's a lot, that's for sure. So where do things stand now? I mean, legally, what's Diddy's defense been like through all this?
Well, his legal team has been pretty consistent with their approach. They've denied everything, every single allegation from day one. And the other thing they've been doing, very strategically, I might add, is filing motions to dismiss these cases one after another.
Oh, really? What are they using to try to get these cases dismissed?
Different things, actually. Sometimes it's technicalities, maybe something wasn't filed exactly right, or they'll argue that the statute of limitations has passed.
Right, right.
And then sometimes they'll attack the accusations themselves, say they're not credible, that kind of thing.
So even if, let's say, they win in court, I mean, can Diddy's image recover from all this?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? And it's one we see come up again and again with these public figures, because winning in court, it doesn't erase everything.
No, it doesn't.
People have already formed opinions, you know what I mean? The court of public opinion is a whole different beast.
It really is. We've seen it time and time again with these kinds of accusations, haven't we? Careers, legacies, they never seem to fully recover.
And that's especially true now, I think, with social media and everything being so instant. People demand accountability, and they want to see it happen fast.
Right. It's not like the old days where things could be swept under the rug.
Exactly. These days, consumers, they have a lot of power. They can choose not to support someone, even if that person never sees the inside of a courtroom.
So what does this all mean for Diddy's empire? All the brands, the partnerships, everything he's built.
Well, it's hard to say for sure, but it definitely complicates things. Even if every single one of these accusations is dismissed, even if he's never found guilty of anything, the road to rebuilding trust, it's a long one.
It feels like such a stark contrast, you know?
Yeah.
You have this guy, Diddy, who's achieved so much, been such a force in music and fashion and culture,
Right.
and now his whole legacy is, well, it's in question.
And I think that's the thing we have to sit with. It's complex. There aren't always easy answers. We can recognize the impact he's had, the positive contributions, while also acknowledging the seriousness of these allegations.
And it's a conversation that goes beyond just Diddy, doesn't it? It makes us think about how we, as a society, deal with these situations.
Exactly. It's about power dynamics, about accountability, about believing survivors. It's a lot bigger than any one person.
It really is. Well, that's about all the time we have for today's deep dive, but as always, we want to hear from you.
Yes, please share your thoughts. Keep the conversation going.
We've laid out the facts, the timeline, the complexities. Now it's up to you to decide what it all means. Thanks for listening.